am Debra Birnbaum with Gold Derby, and I've gathered the Fabulous Five to talk about drama and predict our Emmy nominations. Marcus, you want to start us off and do the drama noms for us? Who do you think is going to get those slots?
Sure. So, I mean, we have to talk about Severance. That's Apple's main play. And then we got to go through, let's see, HBO has, well, if you count HBO Max as well, The Pitt.
Let's do it for simplicity.
The Pitt, The White Lotus,
Last of Us.
Last of Us, thank you. They also have Industry and House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon's been nominated before, but I don't know if that's going to happen again. Let me see. What are some other ones? Slow Horses, I don't know about. It's been nominated before, but The Diplomat is probably Netflix's biggest play. Andor has been nominated before and is probably the best of, honestly, the best show on Disney+. And we'll see if Squid Game gets in. I think the big newcomer, or one of the big newcomers, is Paradise on Hulu. Another Dan Fogelman show, though completely different from This Is Us. Still an amazing performance from Sterling K. Brown, though. And then, yeah, I mean, a bunch of stuff that's in the mix has been nominated before, but I don't know if people are still watching it.
How many new shows can break in? Scott, what do you think?
Well, I think the most obvious one is The Pitt, and I think it could even end up winning. But beyond that, I don't currently have these ones in there, but I am impressed by how many people are saying they're watching Your Friends and Neighbors on Apple TV Plus. As Marcus mentioned, the Paradise is certainly getting watched and is quality. I think that the other real wild card to me, because out in the real world everybody's watching it, but it's TBD who's watching it in the TV Academy, is Landman, which we've yet to really see a huge breakthrough for any Taylor Sheridan show, but they're going for it here, and it's a good show. It's just, again, the question is, why hasn't it happened yet with these other shows? And we can get into that if you want, but I think that's a wild card for sure.
Pete, what do you think?
I think it's an interesting point to make about Taylor Sheridan shows. I think whatever he does will not get nominated. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when you have Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren,
I know.
It's
kind of crazy.
I think I could tell you why. It's a point we made in the comedy video, is that if you don't campaign and you're not out there, they don't vote. Like, I think that it really goes miles. Taylor Sheridan does not come out and kiss babies. He's like, he doesn't even live here. He's like, no, so I think that's a big issue for him.
I mean, sure. Oh yeah.
No, well, just that she seems to do it quite a bit. I don't know. It hasn't helped her though.
I think it's a thing. Has any Paramount Plus show really been nominated in any significant way? Like, I just don't think the voters watch Paramount Plus, period. I don't even know if it's necessarily a Taylor Sheridan thing.
Really, with Yellowstone, I mean, it's just like a lost cause almost for that. You just know it's not going to get nominated whenever it's up, or any of these shows. So Landman, Billy Bob Thornton, he's fine. He's great. Demi Moore's in it, but she didn't do anything this season. But apparently the second season she will. But I don't know that they're watching that. Tell you honest God truth. But I do think Paradise for sure. I thought that was a limited series to begin with for some reason, and
there's more. It's coming back.
Hopefully, yeah.
And I really like Your Friends and Neighbors. And if we're talking about actors, I think Jon Hamm is definitely in for this show. This is a return to him for series television, and it's a very interesting character. And I think that show, could be helped also just by the fact he's in it. And he's done a lot of stuff for it to promote it. So, and it's still, just wrapping up now as the voting's about to begin, which always helps. There's a lot of good possibilities in the drama series category. Handmaid's Tale.
I was just going to ask, it was such a juggernaut when it first came out. Does it have any chance?
With everything going on in the world, and seemingly this show has turned into a documentary.
Wait, what's happening in the world, Pete?
We're living in Gilead, guys. You didn't notice?
That actually make people.
I mean, Handmaid's Tale is now true life.
But
So-
does that make people want to watch it more or less? That's the
Scott
problem.
Feinberg hit the nail on the head. man.
Right.
Like, that
Is it an
I think-
escape or not?
I think it's
Yeah.
an avoidance in some ways. It's too real. And listen, I think it is that. I mean, let me start with what Scott said at the top, because him and I have spoken about this a lot when we run into each other. Win wise, I think this is Severance versus the Pitt for the rest of the year. Like, I think the Pitt is so Homeland season 1 coded. Like, I want to know how many nominations it gets before I can really like cross it over and say it can do it. But I think it's a very
It is one of those
do
shows
you-
that every
have
voter
you
is talking
watched
about.
The Pitt.
Oh, yeah.
It's like so hard to watch for me.
No.
Oh,
No.
I was
No.
fine watching it, and I hate
I
like blood
couldn't
and
stop
gore.
watching
This
it.
is like so bloody and things, and I watch it and I get like, oh God.
Here's the
But
thing.
I also think, but here's the other thing. I also think voters vote for the things they think that they're supposed to vote for. So
Yeah.
I think the Pit has become that show that
I'm
everyone
not
is talking
saying
about.
it's not going to get nominated. I mean, it's ER all over again. Except
Exactly.
It's ER on steroids. So
Well,
to
it's
speak.
ER
So-
in the idealized format. No commercials. You could say and
Right.
show
and
anything.
that's why I
Right.
want the commercials in this case, Scott. I need
you
a break.
can pause. Pete, there's a button on your remote, and you can
Take
pause
a
your
drink
TV.
break, a bathroom break.
Right.
I think
You can
I
switch over-
agree.
You can switch over to
Oh, yeah.
HBO with ads. And
Yes.
there you go. Then you get
There you go.
Great.
Downgrade.
Yeah,
There
and-
you go.
and let me just say here, in terms of like, that's the win wise. Nomination wise, I believe, and I change from week to week. I think there are 9 shows for 8 slots. This feels so top heavy this year. And I think we need to have a discussion of whether it's Squid Game or it's Paradise in that final slot. Why? And I was with Marcus, I was with you for a while on Slow Horses, and this is why I've come to the realization I think it's in. It got in last year, and it also won a writing Emmy, which many feel had no, like out of nowhere. Because people were like, oh, Shogun had 2 nominations. But yeah, but it wasn't going to be Shogun. We didn't predict Slow Horses to come up the middle. So obviously there is a contingency for that show. And once you get in, usually they don't stop once you're in later. So I think advice that that's in. But Handmaid's Tale may or may not, depending on how much people are steering clear of it. And I just want to say, I don't think a lot of people have watched it, but Matlock, for the reason why, I think we're in the transition after this, Deborah.
Thank you. It's like you read my mind, Clayton. Thank you.
It's Kathy Bates, and everyone
Right.
Yes.
has her as a front runner.
Mhm.
Granted, you may be right.
Does she bring the show with her?
And that's like, you have to either say she's Viola Davis for How to Get Away with Murder, which nothing else happened for that show, or the show's coming with it. Like, we don't see those lone winners anymore. So that's why I'm like, I think Matlock's on the table. If
I'd
you
be a
believe
little
that
concerned
Kathy-
at the reverse, though, where maybe she's not as much of a front runner as we think.
Then that you got to concede on that. It's
That's
one or the other.
possible, but I mean, she winds up getting nominated for a SAG award when Jessica Lange didn't for the TV movie last year. And actors love Kathy.
Talk about a
Bates.
beloved actress.
Yeah,
You know, she's a beloved actress. I don't believe the original Matlock ever got an Emmy nomination for anything.
Justice for Andy Griffith. Come
And
on.
if you want to talk about and if you want to talk about a show that people are watching Matlock
In the real world.
And
in
yeah,
the real world.
Middle
If they're
America,
watching
yeah.
the broadcast networks, yeah.
Yes.
And she'll also make history. She'll be the oldest nominee ever in the category, which I think is awesome.
I mean, it's just such a strong narrative. You have to imagine voters are going to get swept up with that.
Oh, no question. I mean, she's in like Flint in terms of a nomination.
All right.
Even
So
her
Pete,
people know that.
who else is in with her?
Britt Lower for sure, because Britt Lower is also a sneaky winner. And I think the reason why I think the first season, especially why she didn't get in, she kind of straddles that line between lead supporting. Because season 1, Patricia Arquette got a lot of hefty time. But it's undisputable now that Patricia Arquette's supporting for season 2. And Britt Lower, for me, her and Tramel Tillman were the standouts of the season. So I think Britt Lower is a sneaky winner. Kerry Russell didn't win for the Americans. And again, Netflix's strongest play. I think those are the only viable winners on the table. And then, you go with either Bella Ramsey, Elizabeth Moss, Melanie Linsky, a lot of lone nominees there for their shows. Caitlin Olsen's having a really interesting year. It'd be interesting to see what happens with her and to make the internet break. Nicola Coughlin for Bridgerton, I think would make a lot of Bridgerton people very happy.
Well, and we have to, I think, acknowledge that, obviously there have been some major developments with The Last of Us this season that have completely changed the experience of what it was from season 1 to season 2. And I have heard from a lot of people who have fallen off. It's just no longer what they signed up for.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we could see a big jolt as far as how that affects nominations. Like, I don't know that they are they signed up for or interested in a Bella Ramsey show. Nothing against Bella Ramsey.
Well, if they don't know what they signed up for, they didn't play the video game.
Well,
I didn't play the video game.
I certainly did not.
Many such cases, yes.
Breaking news. I didn't play the video game. I know you're all shocked.
Yeah, but that tells you exactly where the show's going, and they admit that. But we didn't mention Michael Fassbender, and here's a movie star coming in.
Yes.
Yeah,
lead actress contender Michael Fassbender.
Here's
another piece of breaking news.
A movie star with another movie star, Richard Gere, in this show, which I know it's on Paramount Plus, and we've decided they don't watch Paramount Plus, but it's an extremely well made.
I think the agency's really
good for you to advocate for it.
I just wrote it. It is a show that if you give it a chance, it really can do its job. But unlike The Pitt, and this is why I think people like Pete kind of dismiss The Pitt. The Pitt is amazing background noise that you can like multitask and come back to and know exactly what's going on and get back into it. The agency, I have to dismiss my children.
Send them for the room
because you miss.
You don't have a father.
Yeah, you have to give it your most undivided attention. That's hard.
Well, that's hard to ask Emmy voters to give anything their undivided attention.
And another point, I mean, I feel like we talk about this when we talk about Oscars a lot, but it's like you have to watch another show to watch another category. And here, it's like if you watch The Pitt, you hit a lot of categories. If you watch The Studio, you hit a lot of categories. These single title shows are going to be a hard ask for any Emmy voter. I mean, I talk to them at events, as I'm sure you all do, and they're like, I don't have time for all of this. I have a job. I'm working.
That's why new shows have an advantage, because that's why writers submit the pilots, because then you're like, I can get the first episode.
What do we think? What do we think about binging versus every week water cooler type shows getting all the attention? The Last of Us, every one of us and wherever we write for, dealt with that episode that just came out. It was like old style TV, but it's getting in your face every week. Whereas you just drop 10 shows and you talk about it once and that's it. And I think there's something to be said about these shows.
1,000%.
White Lotus being key to this, really built its numbers as it went along. And I think the White Lotus is huge in this category.
Well, this is a great year to test this theory. I agree with you, Pete. The shows that everybody's most invested in this season, like The Pitt, like these others, have been that type of a rollout. And so we'll see how they all perform. But it seems that they're the ones that are dominating the conversation.
You have to have the goods. If you have the episode and you have the goods, then you give the network or the studio something to market. And then it gives you an excuse to tune in. And that's what makes a lot of the difference.
And I think that's exactly why The Pitt is doing as well as it did. 15 weeks.
It gave people time to catch up and tune in. The word of mouth grew.
I didn't watch it. It was after Oscars. I took 2 weeks off, and that 2 weeks, and it had already been on for like 11. I saw nothing, and then it was just like, and it was incredible. I was like, I can't imagine having to wait for next week's episode. It would have been.
It drives me crazy as a viewer, but I think it's a smart strategy for sure.
It was the smartest strategy for HBO. And the White Lotus, I think it worked out too, because I think especially if you're invested in other seasons, the White Lotus was rough at the beginning. Then you got to the Sam Rockwell episode and you're like, okay, I can finish this now. And that really helps and gets you through the rest.
It takes a very special show, and I know we'll get into this when we talk about Limited, to have that discovery. But I want to just make sure we cover off on the best actor race. So obviously Noah Wyle, obviously Adam Scott. Who else gets in there?
I think Pedro's still in. I think Sterling K. Brown definitely is in. I think the fifth slot is...
John Hamm's in, for sure.
Oh, okay.
And... we'll see.
Over Gary Oldman, I feel like that's one that people will keep pitching.
Probably into. I think that show's building in terms of Emmy recognition, in terms of them actually watching that show.
Well,
I think they lucked out last year.
Just remember though. So how many?
We'll see.
We're saying there are 5 or 6, right?
They're 6. They're going to be 6.
They're going to be 6. Okay.
Don't forget Diego Luna for Andor. Don't forget Eddie Redmayne
Well,
for Day of the Jackal.
Eddie Redmayne, we haven't talked about. I think he's
And we
terrific.
haven't talked about Day of the Jackal.
He's doing Disguise, and all of that stuff actors love, and he's really good in that show.
Absolutely.
Do you think it was too long ago? Do you think they've done enough to bring it back?
On Peacock, they've done a lot. He's done a lot, but Peacock also has its problems with people actually voting.
Yeah, but I would have him over Gary Oldman.
I don't know how you discount Gary Oldman so much
No,
here.
Because that's 4 seasons of television that people have to watch.
But
I think that they
But they've
left
already
out.
established that they like it.
yeah,
But that was because last year there weren't, it was a different pool of shows last year. Now all the shows people watch are back. Plus there's new shows. I just don't think that Slow Horses is that strong.
I can understand the idea that, again, because you all depends on how many people you think watch Slow Horses. But I think Sterling's in, I think Gary's in, and then I think that 5-6 is open between Diego, Eddie. I'm not so confident on Pedro because, again, that's your.
We know you have feelings.
Listen, it's the fluctuation between was supporting more appropriate. There are people like me who think it was, and there are people who don't, and that's fine. But
ask Brian Cox about strategy.
Yeah, it's the most autopilot choice that you can make.
But by the way, Brian Cox, when your show is about to sweep, Last of Us is not about to sweep.
If I were in Vegas or wherever it actually is legal to bet on Emmys, I don't think it is in Vegas, I would put just for fun a few bucks, and you can laugh, but a few bucks on Mark Rylance for Wolf Hall, because the people who like that, it's not at a cool platform, it's not in something that we're all necessarily talking about, but there is actually PBS gets a decent amount of viewership, and the guy's unbelievable. And people, I'm just saying, it's come up in unexpected places.
Perfect.
I also think it's a little weird we have not mentioned a former winner of this category, Lee Jung-jae.
Right.
But I don't think Squid Game had the buzz this season.
But the name of the game, like we say,
I don't see Squid Game.
I will say the one thing about Squid Game is that if it does get nominations, then it also has that benefit of the 3rd season coming out. And if that does better, then it's in a much better standing.
And it's dropping during Emmy nomination voting.
Right.
Yeah, but they think they know what Squid Game is. I think they just know what Squid Game is, and so I think they're going to dismiss it.
I think watch out for Lee
Most likely. I don't know.
All right.
I have to give a shout out to Ramon Rodriguez also. Will Trent in a steady incline of ratings. Procedural drama does very, very well, and they're really going for it this time. It's a hurdle to get over, but I think he's great on Will Trent.
Well, there's going to be room for John Hamm, who got 2 nominations last year just for everything he did, and you need to watch who they like,
and they love John Hamm.
And they like
does it say John Hamm on your shirt?
Hours. Bring it back.
Same thing.
We'll get Austin nominated. All right, we got to end it there. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.